Hello everyone, welcome back to Sports Khabri and Arun Foot. We're here Sunday evening and it's another interesting game that this ISL has produced. It was Northeast versus Hyderabad. Northeast needed the points, so did Hyderabad. Eventually, they shared the spoils. It was 1-all. Unfortunate for Northeast. I don't know how you felt because they looked like they were the better side overall, and they, if they had sort of put away their chances in the first half, could have won this game quite easily. Could have had it wrapped up in say about 30-35 minutes, but they didn't, and they made it hard for themselves. Hyderabad came back towards the end of the first half, and then sort of it was a, I think, mixed second half. What did you make of it?
Good evening, everyone, and good to be back. We're missing, of course, Curious Harry, Hiren, and
Yeah.
Shayan from Indian Food and Football, but Rahul and I are here to talk you through of what has happened over the last 2 days. And yeah, I think in the first half, as you rightly said, Northeast United could have led 2-0, 2-0, 3-0, could have buried the game. But what um, I felt that this easiness that they had in the first few games that seems to be missing in Northeast United. You felt at the start of the season, you know what? Wow, this is something. This is building, and then you realized that the more that they've been playing, that this team will need a little bit more time to gel. They have in Bima Mer, a very, very good central midfielder. Just a hint. Maybe if Mohun Bagan Super Giants are looking for one, maybe this could be one they could target if they're targeting a player from the ISL.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and on the other side, Hyderabad isn't as bad as they're standing in the league, and
Mhm.
again, they get the equalizer just before the break. I felt, yes, scrappy second half, but most probably Hyderabad did have a little bit of the better chances.
Yeah.
And towards the end, I would have said again, Northeast had 2, 3 opportunities. I think Philippa too, if he sort of doesn't fall over his own legs, maybe that would have been the
Mhm.
best one of them all. But you realize that both these teams are struggling at the moment, and you realize that they are not um, so. It's something again. I would have wished Northeast a little bit more. I would have wished Hyderabad a little bit more. But I think this is where they stand at the moment, and yeah, they're not there where both clubs have been. Again, Northeast a drop of form again, but they've stabilized today again after the 5-0 loss against East Bengal. Well, on the other side, there's too much off-field problems with Hyderabad, which are affecting them and their operations at the moment.
Yeah, Arun, will ask you about the off-field problems. Before that, on this game, Nestor had probably the best chances of the game, and I remember there was one point in the second half where he could have played in Filippo too, but he chose not to, and Filippo too, I think, let his feelings be known at that point, and he had most of the chances, and I can count 5 to 6 off the top of my head. Do you think? I mean, he's done so well so far. Probably an off day for him today.
Yeah. I think Nesta could have had X more chances. I think he wouldn't have scored.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and on that side, I'd say it's a challenge, and yeah, they're not that a settled side as they would like to be, and they'll take time. Again, I've said it multiple times with other teams, especially with East Bengal. That such a club will need 2, 3 transfer periods to strengthen the side and be a contender for the top six. And the same applies to Northeast. They've done a lot of things right in the summer to make some drastic changes, but maybe there is something missing here and there. Yeah. Um, Again, if Nestor or Ibsen Mello, who came in towards the end, who had played that ball to Philippa too,
Yeah.
if those two guys were scoring the X number of goals that's needed of them, then maybe, and therefore I think Juan Pedro Benali will go back um, to the drawing board and try to sort things out.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, like I mentioned, just wanted to ask you about Hyderabad's problems at the moment. What is happening with the club, and where do they? I mean, where do they stand with these issues right now?
Well, there's some infos which are out in the public domain. I guess there's some infos which are not out in the public domain, and there's a lot of speculation going on. Hyderabad has been facing financial problems for quite a while now. That's not a surprise to me. If you see, Juan Ferrando would have, I think, liked to have stayed and tried to build on the team, which was not possible last season. Even I'm sorry, Juan Ferrando, I'm saying Manolo Marquez, and Manolo Marquez openly spoke about the issues that the players were not being paid, and still the players were trying to do their best, and that's something which I give them credit for, but. Um, they seem to have already lost a few players. If you see, for example, today Joe Knowles tried his best. Very honestly,
Yeah,
tried his best, gave his everything. He's working hard, but he's not getting the goals. And you saw Pennanen and Joe Victor still left. So it seems the other three foreigners have gone. Even Conor Nestor seems to be a question of still if he's around or gone. Um, yeah, it's a difficult situation. Um, so I think they've been trying to find an investor or multiple investors to come in to help and support the team. That's not happened to them, and that is one of the biggest problems I think at the moment. Hyderabad FC are facing why they are unable to really put things together, even though one has to be honest, it's still on paper not a bad ISL team, right? Because it's quite
yeah,
settled. If you look at, you've got Gurmeet in goal, you've got Sana, you've got Nim Dorji, Nikhil Pujari, experienced guys. You have Joao Victor, Petri, Penanan, experienced guys. You've got Tavora, you've got Hitesh Kumar. It's Joe Knowles up front. You can bring in an Abdul Rabe, a Makanchote. Not a bad team,
yeah,
and but it's just not working for them at the moment. And I think that's the biggest problem. I think for Hyderabad, that last season, despite all the problems, they were still making it work for them. And this season, you realize there's still winners after 9 matches. It's not working for them. So that's the challenge at the moment, I think, for Hyderabad, just to keep things going, because it seems to me that the ISL is a top five and a bottom seven league this season.
yeah, absolutely.
And the top five are already showing what they're capable of, and one team amongst the bottom seven will make it into the top six. And if you towards the end can string 3-4 wins together, potentially, um, then something could happen. But again, it's very difficult for them at the moment, and there's too much going on around the club. Um, yeah, Lord Beke, you're right. There are still salaries which are pending. But again, if I want to invest in a club and want to help the club, then these things should not be a stumbling block for my investment, because then I make the matters worse. So therefore, investors also need to be smart, and need to know when are they willing to come on board.
Yeah, Anava, again, like you mentioned, what this does sort of do is keep the pack close together. Sixth place Northeast, 10 points. You've got BFC with 7 points. They're placed ninth. So just 3 points between those two sides. It's a very, very tight middle of the pack. And on that note, where do you see Northeast finishing this year?
I think between 6 and 12, anything is possible. That's the scary part at the moment, I think, for this whole pack. I know
Yeah,
a lot of East Bengal fans yesterday were celebrating because they reached top six. Now they drop back to seventh. It's a challenging situation. I think every club needs to realize is, um, every result counts. Think about it. Northeast, if they'd won today, they would have moved to 12. They would have created a little bit of a gap with the teams behind them. Hyderabad could have jumped to six, which would have meant East Bengal and Northeast would have been on 9 points. So from that perspective, very very close, very very close. And I said, if a team from that bottom seven can get 2-3 wins in a row, something or the other could then be possible. So that makes it so interesting on that side. Even though these teams, yeah, Um, Depends on what they do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be very interesting. I mean, we did also see BFC lose heavily to Mumbai City, 4-0, and that has sort of led to Simon Grayson's departure from the club. And it's not just that. I mean, I think it's been a string of performances and something that management has also observed from his performances from previous seasons. And do you think it was fair in the end for for BSC to let Simon go, or should they have stuck with him throughout, like for the entirety of the season?
You maybe do it once, you maybe do it twice, but I think the belief wasn't there.
Yeah,
And you and I have discussed it a few
yeah,
times with the others on our podcast that I think it's it wasn't working. And if I was BFC management, despite the successes that Simon Grayson gave you last season, I would have yeah I would have brought in someone new in the summer, because I felt that Grayson and his style of football was not fitting to what BFC um, didn't get the proper ones uh, to to get the maximum out of the players, the style of football, um, and also if you see Parjinmal's statement on Friday evening itself, that was damning. I mean, you were
yeah,
lucky that Mumbai City didn't really play the 90 minutes through. It could have been six, it could have been seven, maybe even eight. And that is the scary part for a team like BFC, who's always able to challenge, right? So um, it's always bad when a manager has to go, but I think there was no other option for BFC. I think the change was needed because it was going from bad to worse. And I think also think about it that Mumbai City was actually playing without a head coach, right? The two
yeah,
assistants were managing the team. They've come on from a very, very tough AFC Champions League, some hard losses for Mumbai City. But what I've been saying for all this while might be coming true, that Mumbai City will learn from those AFC Champions League matches and utilize it in the ISL, because they've played against team which no ISL team has ever played against. So that's that, and it showed. I think Mumbai City playing a few days earlier against Navpahor, able to challenge Navpahor, and on the other side, then coming back and then playing against a BFC, they were on a different level from the start, and that was a very interesting, very stark contrast to see that this BFC team, which on paper looks good, which looks a top six side, but looked not even average that day. That was very, very poor.
yeah, yeah. I sort of go against what Parmeshwar is saying. He's saying, um, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's saying he can't teach the basics. Sorry, moving to a different comment which he just made. He says he doesn't support the sacking of the coaches because the players didn't play well, and we didn't bring in sort of replacements for Jingan and Pravi. To me, honestly, I think Robin Yadav looks good. I actually feel like sometimes he's better than Pravi Das. And yeah, Bhutia and Shankar, I agree, aren't good enough. But apart from that, it's not a bad squad that BFC have at the moment, and we're just not doing well enough, I guess. And we saw it last season. We saw it last season as well. Results weren't convincing, and I'm sure a lot of BFC fans felt that way, even though we got to the three finals. But in terms of legacy, I know what has Simon Grayson left behind, because we've had some good memories under him. I think for BSC to start the way they did last season, but then eventually make it to the semis of the ISL and make it to the finals. We went through a crazy roller coaster in the playoffs. We beat Kerala Blasters, then beat Mumbai, both legs. And to be honest, as a fan, he's given me some good memories. But again, as a whole, I don't know how to see it. I don't know what to make of it. So I put it to you as a neutral. What do you think is Simon Grayson's legacy, and what is he left behind for BFC fans?
I think that two things to me that stand out is that um, I felt that Grayson um, Grayson did a good job last season overall. But doing a good job and getting on one side, football is a result oriented game. On the other side, I felt BFC last season lost its identity on the field.
Mhm.
And that to me wasn't matching. It was more pragmatic football. It was defensive. You're playing on the counter attack. And you had certain players in certain stretches having a good run.
Yeah.
And I would think that if I look at Shiva Shakti peaking at a certain period, Sunil peaking towards the end of the season, it was the smartness of Sunil Chetri which at all got BFC into the semi-finals. Let's be honest, in that Kerala Blasters game. And I still think that despite getting into three finals, you can get into three finals, but there needs to be a belief that the coach can do what is needed for the club, because you also had turnovers in the club just before the winning start run last season. You had Mandatta Mane left. You had in the summer with Mandatta Mane going to NorthEast, you had Naushad Musa going, who was an assistant and head coach of the B team. You brought in Bibiano to be head coach of the B team, Renedy as your assistant. Good decisions, very good decisions by Darren Caldera. You brought in a number of players, and again I felt that some of these British strikers have not really worked this season.
Yeah.
Curtis Main, Connor Shields, and they're all established strikers, right? And that's the question. We were speaking a little earlier about Nestor, who's been on and off as well. So the question is, how quickly can a foreign striker settle down? And in that way, I felt that that they didn't have, let's say, Jorge Pereira Diaz, right? If you look at the success of Mumbai City last season, they looked around the ISL, looked at, okay, which players are good, which would fit into our system. Last season, what did they do? They brought in Pereira Diaz. They brought in Greg Stewart. They brought in Alberto Nogueira. They brought in players who were good, and then you bring in, other players as well. This season, you were looking for players after Nogueira got injured. You bring in Al-Khayati, risking that this guy has an injury-prone career in the last few years.
Yeah.
You saw it in that goal against Nagpur, but you especially saw it against that BFC goal, Greg Stewart and Al-Khayati. What a combination, what a finish.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that in BFC when it comes to the foreigners. Javi Hernandez, a great footballer, but Javi Hernandez needs the support around him. Suresh, to me, in the last few months has been stronger for India than for BFC. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Sunil has been calm and quiet. That's also a factor. And with all that Sunil has done, and with all the effort that Sunil puts in, I think sometimes we should not forget his age as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So therefore, the question is if BFC has to look at maybe changing a few things, bringing in the right players. I don't remember who said it, that Shankar Sampangiraj is a good I-League player, but is he really an ISL player? Then you brought in a Damjanovic, which I felt was a good decision to bring in because it's a solid player. But then the question is, if I put in those two, I only have two other foreign spots. Veendorp, also a good signing. But somehow this team didn't work. BFC signings were not bad in the summer. You brought on Hulichan, you brought in Rohit Danu, you brought in talent. But this team didn't work. And Lord Baker saying of his pragmatic gameplay style, how was that pragmatic? I don't know. Where was the life in BFC? BFC matches have been entertaining. I felt it was not, there was something missing. And yes, Ryan Williams injured. Ryan Williams showed he needed a few games, then he was getting better. But the point is, this team, it didn't look a team to me. There's something missing in this. And sometimes it is the case that the team has been managed by a manager. They've been successful in the past. It doesn't work. The manager goes, and after that, the team suddenly clicks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the next match, if Brennety's gone on the bench or, they're going to be able to bring in a new coach. That is always the interesting part in this. That could that be, again, there's no logic to it. There's psychology. I don't know what it is that sometimes when a manager is fired, that it works for a team. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I take the here example in Germany of Union Berlin, right? They reached the Champions League last season. That the same manager for nearly 5.5 years was Fischer. They haven't until yesterday. They had not won a match till late August. 16 matches unbeaten, and the club didn't want to fire the manager. They wanted to keep the manager because that manager came to them. They were a mid-table second Bundesliga team. But at some stage, you have to take this decision in the interest of the club. And
Mm-hmm.
it was, again, and you and I have discussed it with the others a lot over the last few weeks, months actually. It was somewhat inevitable if the success didn't come. And to somehow, now the question is, Darren Kildare and Albert Roca, can they find the right manager for this team, the right head coach for this team, who can
Yeah.
work with his coaching staff and get the best out of this team? Because I felt BSC is at 50, 60% most of the time. BFC with this squad should be fighting amongst the top six and should not be, part of that catching up pack.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the hope that is that no, I think I hope the management has a plan and they're looking. They already know who their next coach is, and they're not now sitting and wondering, oh, where do we go? Where do we go? And then you're sort of stuck again. So hopefully there's a plan and it's a nice smooth
What's
transition. And
what's your feeling? What's your feeling as a BFC fan? I mean, was it clear to you after that loss to Mumbai City FC? This is it.
yeah, to be honest, I think what the one thing I think I'd give Simon Grayson is he didn't this season. He's looked to play football, and something that we've spoken about in other podcasts as well. That it wasn't quite the same as last season. He shifted to a back four. He actually wanted to play some football, but I think it what for whatever reason probably that's not his style in the first place, and that's why it didn't work. So I have no problem with, I'm glad he did try it, but it didn't work for him, and I think that's the sad end. It was just not meant to be, I think, for Simon Grayson in BFC. So it's okay. I'm fine with it, and for everything else, I mean, I think Simon Grayson was a nice guy. He always came off as a nice guy. Put him, I mean, came out very nicely and spoke nicely to the fans and to the media, and was yeah. I think he was a good guy. Unfortunately, on the pitch it didn't work, and it's okay. Yeah, we move on, I guess, and hopefully we can turn it around. And I want Ryan Williams back as soon as possible because he's that real. He gives you that real jolt of energy, and I want him back. But yeah, Arnava, just a quick question from Brendan D'Souza. He's asking about Parthiv Gogoi. Again, not there. What do we have any information about him?
Um, my information was that he was not fit in the last few days. I don't know if he was not match fit today, and that's why the coach has not picked him, or if the coach was just sort of safeguarding him. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So
So
for me, is that was what I knew. I don't know if he was today not fit, but I guess yeah. That's again, and Parthiv Gogoi again is a good example again of a young Indian player. Uh, it's a question of what to do and what to not to do to try and develop these boys. And I think Benali has a plan which isn't working that much. But I'll be waiting to see what happens. So therefore, yeah, it's just interesting to see. But um, coming to finish off the whole BFC discussion with you, um, who do you wish, or what kind of a coach do you wish comes into BFC?
I think I don't wish for a kind of coach. I think I want Albert Roca to be there. I mean, considering the fact that he's just sitting and watching on, it would be lovely if Albert Roca just comes in and does a job. But anyways, somebody like him. I think I want somebody. I think that's what we crave for, a coach who wants to play with the ball, who likes those technicians in midfield, and we've got that. We've got that in Fiendorp. We've got that in Harvey, and we've Suresh is looking like he can start playing with the ball, especially from what I've seen in an India shirt. He looked very comfortable playing us beside Apuya with the ball. So hopefully that midfield has already sort of come together, and we look like we have those technicians in midfield, and hopefully we can build upon that and get in a coach who will play with the ball and who will play brave football. I think that's what I want to see. Somebody who is willing to. That's why I like Marco, although it didn't work out. He was somebody who was brave and he wanted to play a certain way, and he stuck to it. I think that's what it is. And I think I agree with Saptarishi as well. I think BFC do deserve somebody better than Simon Grayson. He was below par at the end, so yeah, but it's okay. And yeah, we move on. I don't know, on another coach coming into Mumbai City.
Just
Uh,
just to end the BFC discussion, Lord Baker
yeah,
just mentioning Gerard Saragossa, former
yeah,
assistant of BFC, being looked at the moment.
yeah.
Certain people even have already mentioned that it's a done deal, and therefore that's that. And will be interesting to see. Albert Roca yesterday was in Kolkata watching East Bengal versus Punjab FC. So a lot of speculations. Carlos had to sort of make a joke out of it in the press conference that his former boss was in the stands and watching and saying, he's not here to watch coaches, but he's here to watch players. I hope. So that was that conversation. So Albert Roca is in India. Albert Roca is in the country, and let's see if he himself sits on that seat, or if he actually decides to stay part of the technical staff off the field
Yeah.
and get someone else. And Gerard Zaragoza would be a very interesting coach, I feel, because of his PFC background.
Mhm.
And therefore, yeah, let's wait and see what happens. It's an interesting scenario around BFC at the moment and what's happening over there. So
Yeah,
let's wait and see.
yeah, it will be interesting. I know I was coming to Peter Kratky, and what do we know about him? Are you happy with the appointment?
Petr Kratky is a typical CFG assignment to try and grow a young coach. They did it with Des. Des came from Melbourne City to Mumbai City, and we know what he's done. Petr Kratky was the guy who took over from Des as assistant coach at Melbourne City and was very, very successful over the last 2 seasons. Has been in Australia for quite a while. Came there to end his career. Very successful player in the Czech Republic, or Czechia is now what they call it, and played his last season of his career in Australia. Stayed in Australia, coached in Australia. Was in the youth system at Melbourne City, and then from Melbourne City's youth system became the assistant coach when Des left. And I guess he will continue to work and try to develop Mumbai City FC. And as from what Des has left behind, because we saw against BFC that Mumbai City have a strong foundation, and whenever Nasser Al Khayati is fit, that he is one of the best players to have ever played in India. I go to that extent. I said it last season at Chennai already. This guy, if he's fit, um, because if he was fit, he would have been playing in Europe. So therefore, that's the luck. So the medical department, the doctors, the physios have a lot of work around that player. But Petr Kratky, first match in charge against Manolo Marquez against FC Goa on Tuesday. Let's see if we have the time and to maybe not only do an analysis, maybe even a watch along. Let's see if we can do that.
Yeah,
Because that's gonna be a top clash. I mean, Mumbai City against
yeah,
BFC. Mumbai City showed. I mean, I was talking to Shayan earlier in the week, and he said, "Oh, Mumbai City. I don't know." I said, "I
yeah,
feel and I felt this. Um, they will learn from those AFC Champions League matches, and they will grow. If you see in Apuya the way he's played, I felt Vinit Rai was very, very good. Huh? He's not had too many minutes, but he was very, very good against BFC, and a player who so far has been struggling. Um, Akash Mishra, man of the
Yeah,
match.
yeah.
Um, Also a brilliant goal.
Scored a goal.
Um,
Yeah,
so from that perspective, Petr Kratky, I think just needs to settle down, allow the team to continue what they what they're doing, and then in the January break can maybe change a few things. Mumbai City sometimes is playing a little different. Sometimes even playing a 4-3-3, not always a 4-2-3-1. So they're playing around. Interesting that Vikram has been getting a lot of time. Jankte has been on and off. And on the other side, Bipin with limited time. So therefore, some interesting stuff that's happening. So therefore, um, Peter is coming into a club which is well settled, well organized, and again, Champions League done and dusted. Now target the ISL, and Mumbai City has it all in them to defend their league title.
yeah. A lot of people are asking about the I League and asking us to discuss the I League. I know. I don't think we will. Of course, we can go through it game by game right now. But I think the plan is also for us to do a sort of weekly review, which I think we should do sometime this
Yeah.
week. But otherwise, just in general, how are you taking to the I League? Because we got Mohammedan at top, Srinidhi and Aizwal are chasing them. Um, but yeah, what have you made so far? Mohammedan also have a game in hand.
So I was watching today's matches, Shillong, Lajong FC versus Aizawl FC, full house at the SSA. You saw even they're building one of the stands or rebuilding one of the stands behind the goals. Even there were certain people sitting or standing on it. Aizawl, former champions, beating promoted Lajong 3-0 impressively. On the other side, Trao 3-0 against Interkashi. Interkashi sort of high flying coming into the league, looked at, yeah, let's see what we can do.
Yeah,
And very important also, Churchill Brothers beat Naroka 4-1 today. So Churchill Brothers have been struggling quite a bit. Brought in an Argentinian coach, certain Argentinian players, and from that perspective, the I League is very, very interesting. Mohammedan Sporting early runaway leaders. But again, I think Ogulum Kerala and Srini Deccan will challenge them for the title. Maybe even the surprise of Aizawl or Shillong. I don't know. But I think we'll have to also be realistic that whoever wins it doesn't automatically mean that they will be able to play in the ISL. You have to fulfill certain criteria. Punjab had to leave the Chandigarh region and relocate to Delhi for this season. So that's going to be a few questions at who wins it. Therefore, I think Mohammedan, Srinidhi Deccan, and Gokulam are the three teams in this league who can surely play in the ISL.
fair enough. Fair enough. Arnava, tomorrow, of course, is an important day for Odisha. They play Bashundra Kings, and if they win that game, they progress into the next round of the AFC Cup. What are the expectations that we have from Odisha? Because they've impressed so far this season.
After their 0-4 loss to Mohun Bagan in their first competitive match, which was in the AFC Cup,
Yeah,
um, it looked a little worrying. It's like, where do they stand? How good are they? Ugh, could be problems for them. But they played after that. They're slowly building up, and both in the ISL and AFC Cup. Because I remember after the second loss in the AFC Cup to Basundhara Kings, and I think it was Shine who said, "Why are they not taking this tournament as seriously as the ISL?" Right? And it looked like it at the start, but I think they needed to get the hold and understand how continental football also works, and to get past Mohun Bagan, to win 5-2 in Kolkata. A team like Mohun Bagan doesn't normally concede 5 goals, right? That is front page news.
yeah,
And it is something which is positive and surprising in that way, because Mohun Bagan Supergiant came into the season with Mr. Goenka and others in the club clearly stating, hey, we want to win the AFC Cup, which I felt at the start is okay, you might dream about it, but I don't see it as being realistic. And we've discussed Mohun Bagan a lot. We had the other day, we had after that loss, 2-5 loss to Odisha, we had Shushmit on as well, as a Mohun Bagan fan. And from that perspective, I feel Odisha have done well. Serge Lobera showing again, very good coach, understands Indian conditions, has banked on experience, right? Has brought in players who are known foreigners in the Indian football scene. Able to again rejoin with Ahmed Jahu and Murtada Fall. Brought in Roy Krishna. So Sai Goddard has played under him in Mumbai. So he's brought in those players, but kept Delgado, Mauricio, brought in certain players as well in regard to Indian players. And yeah, it's a very interesting thing. Murtada Fall, as far as I know, is most probably not going to play, and Jahu
Yeah.
will be a decision tomorrow on if he's match fit or not. Um, and this is Lord Baker is saying it. No, tomorrow is an important day for Indian football, not Odisha. He's exactly right.
Yeah.
Odisha needs to beat Basundhara Kings to top the group. Simple as that. Oscar Bruzon and Basundhara Kings will come prepared. They've had their best run in this competition, and it would be a major upset if two Indian clubs are pipped for the top spot by a club from Bangladesh.
Absolutely.
And which would reiterate a point that I have been saying is we are dreaming of playing against the best in Asia. We are
Mm-hmm.
not able to take care of teams in our own backyard.
Yeah.
That's a reality, right? So that is tomorrow very, very important.
Yeah.
No, I think Lord Vic, I don't think Basundhara will play for a draw because knowing Oscar will play for a win. Oscar Bruzon doesn't play for a draw, and I think they have it in them. If the way they've played in Kolkata, they've played against Odisha and against Mohun Bagan. They have it in them, and I wish Odisha win this game
Mm-hmm.
and qualify because it's very, very important for Indian football. I have to say, sorry, my friend Oscar. This is for India in Indian football. We need it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the hope of tomorrow. Hopefully, Odisha do come out on top and progress into the next stage of the AFC Cup. Well, thanks, Arnava. These are the four things broadly we wanted to cover today, and we've done that. Thank you, everybody in the chat for joining in. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow to discuss the AFC Cup clash between Odisha and Basundhara Kings, and look forward to the ISL game on Tuesday. So, oh yeah, predictions. Okay, predictions, Arnava.
Mm-hmm.
Just to quickly get that in from you.
3-2 Odisha.
Tito Odisha. Okay, that's awesome, awesome. So we're leaving everyone
What's
with a
what's yours?
positive.
What's yours? Let's ask you. What's your
I,
prediction?
I,
What's the
I
prediction of
want
you
Odisha
guys
to win.
who are watching? Listen.
Yeah, yeah. For sure, I think I want Odisha to win. I wanted 2-1 to Odisha. I think Odisha is one of those sides I've been impressed with even before the season began. Just the vibe around the club, and I like it, and they've done well. So 2-1 to Odisha would be awesome. Lord Becky is saying 2-1 as well. So yeah, that's the hope, guys. Come on, Odisha, and yeah, do it for Indian football. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Arnava. Please like and share these videos. Subscribe to the channels Post Kabri, Arun Food, Curious Harry, and Indian Food and Football. We'll be back tomorrow. Good night, everyone. Good night, Arnava.
Good night, Rahul, and good night, everyone. See you tomorrow.